This week we were going to talk about potentiometers, but given the fact that Ozzy Osbourne has just died, I didn't feel like it was fitting, nor did I feel like it was respectful. So we're going to talk about Ozzy for a second. Stick around. When I was a kid, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. My dad played pedal steel guitar in an outlaw country band. You guys can look up that music. It's actually on YouTube. Larry Dalton and the Dalton Gang. The closest thing to rock and roll I ever really heard would be like the Eagles and ZZ Top and Skynyrd. And not that that stuff wasn't great, because it was, but it wasn't, I don't know, there was something, it was missing something for me. 1983, I'm 10 years old, and I vaguely remember seeing like Bark at the Moon on Friday night videos, and I was fascinated by it because, it was like horror and werewolves and just crazy. And this dude was supposed to, like, eat animals live on stage or whatever. Not long after that, a friend of mine gives me a cassette. Back then, that's how you shared music. It was physical. So I had this cassette, and I put it in and I pressed play, and what I heard was, I don't know. So it was the Blizzard of Oz record. And electric guitar had never done that before. I'd been around electric guitars my entire life at that point, but they didn't do that. It was mean, it was dark, it was sinister, it was dangerous, it was scary, it was super exciting. Listening to that record, it was a big deal. It like completely life changing. And then of course, I dived deep into Diary of a Madman, and now I'm hooked, and I have to know how to make this noise. Well, by the time I discover Randy, sadly Randy had already been gone for a year or two. By then, Jake was the guy in the band. He's just as scary, chops for days, and it was way too much for my little mind to get around. So I had to figure out how to do this, how to make these noises. Back then, it's not like it is today. Today, you can Google search Randy Rhoads tone, and you will pull up a variety of patches that are perfectly manicured, digitally perfected to mimic the sound from Believer or Rock and Roll Rebel or anything off of the live sounds from Tribute, or maybe you want to replicate Killer of Giants or something like that. That sounds probably out there that you can download to your Fractal, your Kemper, your Helix, your whatever your modeler is. Back then, man, you had to really make those sounds. The cool part is your choices were limited. So if we look at Randy, man, Randy was using just a few pedals to shape his tone. Now, granted, they were like delay and chorus and flanger, and the chorus and the flanger all came from MXR. The delays is well documented. You guys can all look this up. There were only a few pedal manufacturers out there that made pedals that you could actually use. There was MXR, Boss, DoD, Ibanez had some stuff, Morley, Electro Harmonics. We're like dwindling in our list. The stuff that you really needed primarily came from like MXR or Boss. Randy would have used this. This is an MXR Distortion Plus. And then the 70s version of this, which is just an MXR 10-band EQ. These combined in front of a Marshall that's already angry. He could boost the mid frequencies here. He could also hit the front end of the amp even harder, as well as add more gain here. You could buy these anywhere. Jake was much more of a Boss guy. Now, I have a pedal board here that I built a few years back of every Boss pedal I wanted when I was 14 years old. And with this, I can play anything off of Bark at the Moon and The Ultimate Sin, No Rest for the Wicked, No More Tears, as well as, Blizzard Diary. And I have. With Randy, too, with that 10-band EQ, you could achieve that with still one of these and even just a Boss GE7. The frequencies you want to stick around are going to be like the 500 hertz. You can't quite get dead on 500 hertz here, but you can get pretty close. It's got a 400 bump and an 800 bump for that like mid-range focus. Your amp, in order to get these sounds, if you go with just a clean amp and like a Marshall Governor, this is an older one here, they reissued this pedal a few years back. Set that with pretty much everything straight up in the middle, put the MXR and the EQ in front of it, and there it is. Jake used an OD1 in front of his Marshalls, but a Boss Super Overdrive will get you there as well. That's what Zach used in front of a JCM 800. That sound, that core sound that everyone is always searching for whenever they think of like a big, thick rock or classic metal sound. It's really easy to find. It's essentially an overdrive pedal into an angry Marshall. It was Randy that made me want to get a Les Paul Custom. He was on the cover of Guitar World magazine, but he's got a black Les Paul Custom with 3 humbuckers in it. This is mine. It's a 1984. I toured with this guitar all over the world extensively. I adore this instrument. And yeah, I have it because Randy had one. Granted, Randy really never played live with that guitar, but he should have played live with that guitar. It was Jakey Lee that made me want a Charvel. In 2008, I want to say, I had Charvel make this for me. As cool as it gets. I was the only cat in Nashville playing a Charvel, that's for sure. Ozzy meant a lot to me. Ozzy was unconventional, but man, there was something about him that was just remarkably compelling. And he had an unbelievable knack for melody and for picking the right guys. I mean, think about it. The first 6 solo Ozzy records, the first 2, Randy Rhoads. The second 2, Jakey Lee. The next 2, and technically next several, are Zakk Wylde. I mean, that's a home run every single time. Who has 1,000 batting average, right? Of course, later in life, I discovered Sabbath, and I love Black Sabbath. As a matter of fact, I listen to every Sabbath Ozzy era record today. But there was something about what Ozzy did as a solo act that really connected. Okay, I've rambled enough. Basically, I just want to say thank you, Ozzy, for all of it. Thank you for being the majority of the soundtrack of my life from 10 years on. Thank you for Randy, Jake, and Zakk. And not to be super cheesy, but I'm going to do it. So I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you guys next week.